when you go later, you can actually able to read them for yourself. So front end, back end, APIs. Somebody say front end now the waiting. What's a user interface? Sir? Some of you also be better grammar. Mm-hmm.
Specific tools like Java, C++, Python, and all that stuff before start for build something.
Okay, cool. So I'll give you a simpler answer. This engineer is so very technical. What a front end is? You see this way, they see so. Like, hey, you're not seeing anything. Nice. Hold on. So you see this? This interface where you see so. Everybody they see this picture. Everybody they see this picture. This text. This navigation titles and buttons. This is what we call the user interface. The user interface are waiting you or somebody as a user they interact with on this application. And then our user interface. And then they always can be with front end. And if you already don't set to waiting the user they interact with, somebody could just guess a when in that case, waiting the back end, it go be. Waiting the user know the see. That's all. Behind the scenes. All right. Final one. You don't get waiting the user they see. Waiting the user know they see. Final one are APIs. That should be, I think that should be simple now. So you don't get, I left people out. You don't get waiting the user they see. You don't get waiting the user know they see. This time the user they see. This time the user know they see. What the APIs go be? Exactly. The link. So, if anybody go inside now, you're able to define within a front end, back end, and APIs from like a simple perspective, true or false. So for make you even understand them better, application, programming, interface. A programming or programmable? Programmable interface. So for make this simpler for remember, these are always simpler for remember with diagrams. So let's go a quick diagram. Don't mind my drawing skills, eh? So this we will call a S1. This is our server. On this side, we'll call these N1, N2, N4. S1, this now we server. N1, these are what we would call nodes when are end devices. We can be your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone, your PlayStation, whatever device you get, what they communicate to a server. Now you go be there and there. We all understand that one day. And then here we get with server. And then if one for complete this diagram based on the definition, what's left? The API. And for that, I'll just do two. Let's erase this. Well, I'll also like one for clarify the definition of APIs a little bit. API is not so that necessarily they do the communication. It's like they're just there for handler. We understand? Does that make sense? It's like, for example, if they tell you, say, study your small sister. Not so you they study. Now in the study. But you're just there for ensure, say, you actually study. Make sense? Nice. This arrow. Cool. So we have the arrow, finally. Let's see this one where the middle go be. A. 1. And then we get R1, not R2, R prime. Okay, so let me explain this. So S, this is S1. Now in our server, now in the backend. And how we define backend? Now waiting the person, not the behind the scenes. So this now they happen behind the scenes. The front here when at the N1, N2, the nodes, now they we front end the. In our waiting we they see, or waiting the user they see. Correct? And then we get A1 and A2. These are our APIs. Why we put 2? In an application, this way they see so. Not just in an application, not just this entire thing where they see so S1 and then nodes here. It's not also normal AD. As in your phone, able to communicate to multiple servers at once because you get multiple applications then on your phone. So it's not necessarily saying that S1 day and then S1 and they supply multiple nodes. Even this, just for clarifying, we can create another one, column S2, and then this same N1, connect here, this same N1, here. So we get 8 in here. Yes. Let's go up small. So we get S1, when are we first server, when are we first backend, and then the nodes, when are they with front end, they when are they with end users, then they interact. And then you see these arrows. This would be an unfair question, so I will not ask the question, I'll just answer. There was a workshop where we define what a server is. So server basically just accepts a request, process them, and then serve a response. Around a server. So you can a server they down server. This server is basically just a accept request from user, process that request there, and then serve a response. So these arrows you see, these are like where you there. Let's say you know a user, you use WhatsApp, you want to send a message. That message you send, I make picture as a request. That message you send a request. You understand? And then once that request they reach to the server, it process that request there, and then it serve the response. When that means say your message don't go. And this other arrow with the cow buyer when you response. So this is your front end when I interact with. This is your back end. And in between here, you get the APIs. Why I put A1 and A2? Just to show that even in one application, let's say they use one app, WhatsApp for example, even in WhatsApp, WhatsApp can still make use of more than one API. We understand? Everybody, you sure?
So, like, can you give us a real example of APIs?
I don't think I understand. You say some real. Okay, you know, like weather, your weather application. Do you feel like when you click weather, are your phone actually they scan for actually check whether it is going to rain today or not?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So in weather applications, that's like the first one we come to mind. They make use of APIs. We're connected to a backend. We get the ability now for actually check the weather forecast. And then once you click for know the weather of a particular area, you send a request to that server there, and that server there, they process them, serve you back a response via that API where they inside the application.
So for each purpose, there is a specific API for that?
For each purpose, I think it depends. You self can build your API. How many you think about that? That way, it's not like they get pre-built API that will exist when they know more you do use. Whatever you want to do, you can build an API where they handle that one day for you. Make sense? So it's not like they get say all the APIs and this and the world. You self can build your own for whatever purpose or whatever you want to for do. Infrastructure. The data we don't get. Yep. Okay. Yes, sir, sure.
Still, it's kind of complicating because the last time, the example at the beginning is just like, for example, a map.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein, for example, if you don't build an application that you need to fully map the in, and not need to fully create a map just to get API when a map you bring that in.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, still, I think for get the concept.
Okay, let's suppose this.
Have you ever built an API? So can just give one example of API where you why you build that for your reason. So take for example the application where they will
Yeah, so it makes sense now? All right. Just for the purpose of people that will not be a recital when they explain API, I'll try to explain how you explain them. It's like, imagine you get a backend with in a particular language. Let's say you backend Namende. You understand? But then somebody there when at Timini normally they talk. But that person they still need for use that information within a backend. How me think about API? When that person they talk Timini, or that platform when at Timini that they use, and for communicate to your backend, we written in Mende, API they in between now for kind of translate them to whatever language you want to do. So API are like universal interpreter for whatever language. So that's why you don't need for worry, but you don't need for worry about whoever your application written in the language where the API data written in. Whatever language you write in, the API enjoy the taker. Say okay, well, the API they count the data. Once you reach, okay, this is not Timini, give you in Timini, or this is not French, give you in French. Cool? There's another way back how you can think of APIs. Let's say, for example, you're a businessman, a salon. Now, you normally import grease, where they use for Vaseline. Now, you normally import Vaseline. Oda go get all the information about Vaseline as salon. Not so you. Well, let's say somebody want to build an application now. We need for show data. Almost Vaseline, the kind of the country, almost the Vaseline cost, almost than the cost. Oda go get that data there. Are you? Because you are the sole importer and distributor. You understand? So if that person they want that data there, and let's say you own base, you the lunge, the other person in the free tongue. Anytime you need that data there, you need for go meet you, it come. Meet you, it come. How we can simplify that process there? You get an API, we get all the data on Vaseline. So whenever that person need for show that data there on Vaseline, it just they connect to your own API. And then it gets all the data about Vaseline we need. So APIs they not get like this stringent saying it's one and done. You can bend them and mold them for whatever use case you get. How I think about it? It's just a handle communication between your backend and your front end. It can be data, it can be language, it can be whatever. Does that make it better now? Cool. So every application where you see on the internet, any functional application where you see on the internet, has a front end where they interact with, has a back end where they use data there, and then gets API or APIs. Make sense? So if you want to build your application, what are the three different layers that way you need for consider? Exactly. The front end, what your user they get for see. Your back end, the data where the user they see, who side they come off from. The APIs, what's the facilitates that connection there and that vibe say between your front end and your application. So in systems thinking or system architecture or software architecture or software layout, at the base level, this is it. You understand? And next, we go into what you really, let's say you want for build an application, what you go need for getting at the front end, what you go need for getting at the back end, and what the API go able to handle for you inside the application there. But first, before we go under, any questions? Any questions so far? Everybody get a laptop? Yep. So now, we can open Claude. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Without the APIs, then between the back end and front end. Yeah, side difference. You understand now? All right, cool. So open Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, any one of them on your laptop. And we can do first exercise. Now we all get an understanding of front-end, back-end, and APIs. We all get an understanding of that. So think of the application where you want for build. Then you sell whatever AI you open. I'll recommend Claude, but if you don't get Claude, open ChatGPT and say, I am building a simple. If your application is simple, not put simple. To-do app. Help me map out the front end, back end, and API. Would handle for these features. So, what they say now is tell Claude or ChatGPT say, I build this application, help me for map out the front end, the back end, and the API that we go handle some features. So because of time, you could limit the features. So since we say a simple to-do app, I can say for add in a task, which other one? Marking a task as done. And deleting a task, simple. So if your application are a social media application, you would say, I'm building a social media application, help me map out the front end, back end, and API we go handle, feature for upload image, feature for download image, feature for post a comments, feature for post a text. Let's do that and then see. So while we do that one, I'll just explain. Say, like I mentioned at the start, engineering is basically morphing into this. You have it like a fund. So now, for example, whatever a output, you'd have like a better understanding of now than you did before the class started. Alive? Because now you don't know what's in a front end. Now you don't know what's in a back end. You don't know what's the APIs that they do. So whatever response you get now, it would be easier for you for understand and explainer. You don't need to understand all the outputs here, so line by line. But then you get an overarching understanding of what's in a front end, alive? So when you see, you say, all right, something at the front end, and they display all the tasks, and at the main container components, and they put individual tasks, and get the inputs form. You know, say all this now user interactions. I use an area for plot form. Use an area for markers done. Use an area for display, an area for see all the tasks in at the front end. And then when you go to back end, outside the data store, now the ID, the name of the task, whether I completed, who's we create, who's we update. And then we get with core logics of this application, which is task creation, status, delete, retrieval. So all of this content, not RTA, try to understand all line by line. But now we get an understanding of front end, back end, APIs. Make sense? We sure? Yes, sir. So we all get a response? Yes. We all responses go different because we all application are different. All right, cool. Okay. So the next part of this class where we go, layers. Anybody go want this image? Anybody go want this diagram? Eh? So I'll take a screenshot and I'll send it. Cool, nice. So let's use a blank next theory go to is data flow and communication. Data flow and communication. Should we continue? Eh? So I just want to clarify. Now, if you look at an application, you can understand the front-end side of farm from like a user perspective. Eh? You can understand, say, this data what they see, they come up from a database, the backend. You can understand that one day? Cool. So now, what they can look at is what you decide for call. Request and response cycle. So you know how we define server just now? What's a server? What's in a server? Server receives a request, processes it, and then serves a response. So what they can do is examine this process. Request, response, cycle. So first one, let's do this by steps. You as a user, open any application. You create an action which is a user action. The action can be whether you prompt for send a message, for take a picture, for take a screenshot, for comment on a post, right? Or for make you actually understand this API thing better, you come and then you say you want to see the weather na Kenema. Inside this is your weather app. Eh? You click the button, you say show weather na Kenema. This is the front end. This is your back end. Outside the data, the weather data. Eh? Then this is your front end. And your weather app. When you click that button, say show the weather. Let's say this button and the show weather. When you click because forget that data, this application need for communicates to this. This application need for communicates to this server. We get the weather data. We do that via API, the weather API. Eh? So step number 1, you click the button. Step number 2, I don't mess up this diagram, small. Yep. So let's come back. Right? So get we user when are you? You get this small button here we press. This now the database and the backend for the weather application. Also all the information about the weather reside. Will they follow? Are we together? All right. So once you tap that button there, what will happen in the background is you dey send a request to this server when an R1. So when you tap this button, using the weather API within the middle, you don't send a request to this server. Say, look, I want for know the weather now, Nabo. This your server, once it receive your request, the processor, because now weather server, not to just boy get the weather data for other cities in Sierra Leone or other cities in the world. Process look for the particular data we are available for both tongue. When I have this P1, the processing, I have P1. And then once you get that data there, via the same API within the middle, send you your response. We will say R. And then this UI, they change from this. So this UI now we get your weather data. Does that make sense? So, all right. We don't see them from the diagram. Let's see them from phone. So let's say this is my weather application or open so. All right, cool. You see this small time we take, you know, say you prefer to get 2-. Inside that split seconds there. Now this start process we withdraw earlier. It does send a request. The server don't read them and then don't serve a response to you via the weather API. So that small process you see, so this is what happens in the background. And I know say from the diagram we say you press a button and then you get the application. But then because these weather applications also they use your location, it can trigger on your behalf. But let's say now, I know how to use this weather app better. But let's say now you want for, how do you search here? Let's say now you want for search for a particular city. This one now in triggered by you, both Sierra Leone. So you see this process where you see so, that is what you will drop at the diagram. You, user, with this interface, don't send a request to the weather app in server. Say, okay, I'm requesting weather data on Bo right now. The server don't process them, and then don't give you a response. We all understand that one day. Eh?
So like, what's in the happen is scenario where you send a request, then the message carrier is saying, we couldn't reach the server or we couldn't communicate to the server.
Most times, say that message in the internet problem that you get. Because these things all now online in the.
Is there any possibility where because I get the experience where I can go to a particular website.
Mm-hmm.
I can use that website there and they can come out what they are using the same thing, and then they go pass and go type on the browser and then come again and I access to that. So I would like to possibility where it's maybe there's some kind of disconnection from the one I've used previously.
All right. So you see this? This is the fundamental infrastructure where they happen, provided that everything else is in place. So most of these issues we can face at times is probably the device where they use get some blockers the way it is used for check force. So it will limit you access to certain sites, provided that it no look guarantee say this website's authentic. For example, there are certain websites where you don't test, you they use fine, and you okay with them. But then because you Windows application, Windows Defender inbuilt for security, and then these websites sort of pass some few security checks, it go flag them, and then you no go able to access the site. That don't mean say anything in this flow broken. It just means say your own system where they use, they prevent you for access that site there for one reason or the other. Another one can be internet. Another one can be sometimes you dey in a particular security mode on your laptop when they allow you for access a particular website. But then this is what happens provided that every device or internet connection problems, they work fine. Please proceed with your question.
Let's say it's like an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I see one of the phrases they call up with.
Mm-hmm.
I check the phone, and when I press, I check all of this. So yeah, I come back and I say, hey bro, I check for this game now, and it's like not download a VPN, right? VPN. So like after I download VPN, I go back and call of it and Play Store, search for why.
So why? So with some data, are not limited to applications. Some data they will limited for particular regions. You understand? I'm not able to think of anyone, but let's say for this one in particular. Maybe the Call of Duty, that particular model there, or that particular version that we want to download, limited for certain countries only. So because Play Store they use your location, and you know say you dey Sierra Leone, and Call of Duty not available for Sierra Leonean users, now it make you not able for download them. When you download a VPN now, a VPN need to connect you to like a private network somewhere else. I don't know if that's the most accurate definition of VPN, but VPN just it able to change your location, or it able to change the way how people outside the internet is see you they come off from. Like your IP address, it able to change that, or make it look like it change. You understand? So because of you use VPN now, when you go on Play Store, in all the appears say you come off from Sierra Leone again, it appears until you come off from Germany, also say you come off from Italy. And because Call of Duty available for Italy, you're able to download and they. Same way so even with these APIs and data, some data they were restricted to certain regions. So you can't even able for query that data there and see any response because your location where you did, that data they restricted from being shown in that location. Cool? Any questions?
So what determines the speed of the response?
What determine the speed of your response? Making it available. Yep, so is that. And other times, like it's just your internet. Another reason you made this your response slow is basically your internet back as well. So that is it for the request response cycle. And from an engineering perspective, these are things you get for the work with from time to time. Because if you get for build your API, you get for know like what happens in this flow. So do we all understand that? Everybody? I hear people say no. And by the way, these are just a breakdown down, but all of these things connected. Front-end, back-end, API, request, response, they're all connected. I just break them down and draw diagrams so we're able to understand it better. But by now, we all for don't get response. And the next stage where they can go now, we'll make you able to understand some part of that response better. So I'm going to write these letters. And then the floor is open for anybody. We want for guess. What's in I mean? C-R-U-D. What does C mean? What's it? C mean create. R mean read. What do you go mean? If C don't be create, R mean read. Update. And D is? D is? What did I say data? You guys are 100% wrong. So let's say there is something that you can create. You will create them. You will read them. You will update them. What's left? Thank you. Delete. This D. Calm down. Delete. So you see this? These are the most common communication flows. So whatever application, wherever you use them, all you do is these 4 operations. Think of any application. Let's do the code for her. Any application. X, Twitter. What would be the create be? You will create account. Okay. You will create account. You will create post. I don't know why. No, I'm not still missing. You will create post. Post. You will create media. You will create tweets. You will quote tweets. So for simplify, buddy. Okay. We ready? Yes. So for understand now, create is basically when the create operation is basically when you post something or create data on a particular application. So for example, on Twitter, when you want for make a post, you're basically, when you want for post something or make a tweet, you're basically creating new data, if I can put it that way. You picture or this tweet where you post, not be the day before, be ever in the database, true or false. But then by you tweeting them, you don't add that data there. So you're creating new data. We understand? So what would the read be? Simple now. If somebody don't create a tweet, reading, and for you for able to see them, read them. You understand? So in a database operation, when somebody creates a tweet, it don't create new data inside the database. When you go now on another device, when you see them, you're basically reading that data from the database. And then update. I'm looking at you being update. That is true in that sense, but this we are talking with regards or in a line along the lines of data, not application. So let's say this tweet where you make mistake there. You know, put picture, the picture you put, put and again. Update is basically changing that data there. It's either changing or adding to that data there. It's like edits. Yes, so you not want that picture, you want to put a different picture now. That is where the updates come in. And then delete, get rid of them. So let's look at another application. We don't look at Facebook. Facebook. I think Facebook and Twitter and X almost similar. It's almost the same thing that they do. Yes, please. Which one? Pardon? Bible. So what would the create part of your Bible application involve? Some Bibles they need you for create an account, so they go able for send you email. Some need you for create an account, so they go able for send you email. Some they give you the ability for search. Some they give you the ability for make notes. So the creating part would be that, being able for make notes on the app. Because when you make notes, you need for store on site. Ally? Also, I go store at the database. And if you store at a database, then you don't create new data. Exactly. And even your accounts where you can create on inside the Bible app, you are creating new data. And then the read part, that is set. And then the updates can be your account until you put your FSL number. Now you are add QCell number. That is update. And then delete. That note you take, you want delete her now. You delete. So almost every application where you look at the core, this is basically what you are doing. You are either creating data, reading data, updating, or deleting data that exists. We all understand? We want to look at more examples. All right, so if I look at more examples, that application you don't say, make it map out the front end, back end, and API. That same application, and now they can say, using same AI, say, walk me through the complete data flow. For this application. include what happens in the front end, what API calls would be made per action, what backend does per action, for every flow. So if I could just have your attention, quick normal, right? So this next one, they tell that same application where it don't map out the front end, the back end, and the API call set for you. They tell and I'll say, walk me through the complete data flow for this application. And in that info include waiting they happen when the front end, somebody click a particular button. When somebody click a particular button, waiting they happen at the back end, waiting the APIs that they do. Per each action for this application for every flow. Make sense? All right, so for give some more context, we would say something like, for example, when someone taps to create a task, tell me what happens from the front end to the back end, and if any API calls are made. So for simplify and for Ramo, they say, for example, when somebody creates a task button, tell me what they happen from the front end to the back end and what API calls are being made, if any. What makes this important in your application is that when AI get for the code for you, you need to understand what they happen. When somebody click this button, what really they happen. Because that would help you when you run into errors, which you are going to run into. When you run into errors, for know where exactly this error they come out, you need to understand how data they flow in this your application. You understand? So any of when we use AI, they ever run into that error, could not find something, they begin show you slash. Exactly. V0. It always like that style. So if you understand how data they flow in your application, it would be simpler for debug that problem there. Because you don't know, say, if you show this particular file, that means this is a backend problem. If you show this particular file, that means this is a front-end problem. So let's see. Wagwan. So if you don't prompt it, I just want to add something. So before you prompt, add this at the end, just so it will be easier for you for understand. Tell and say simplify your response, where a beginner go able to understand or get too technical. Nice. Yes. Sorry. One more thing with these operations, so I forget for mention. Get. Please do that phone down there. And the first one is post. Yep, so quickly, just want to mention these points. So for B, because when you get for the use AI, you get for the use some technical term there. So, side a quick, I need help here. What would be like the most accurate definition of post, get, put? I mean like the technical overarching name for the all.
These are just HTTP methods.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, so these methods, HTTP methods, basically each correlates to an operation. So you know how we don't define create, read, update, and delete, and how they work in different applications, eh? So in code, when you actually write code now, you know they say create. If this particular operation, suppose for create new data, the particular method where you use, now the post method. Make sense? If this particular operation where you get for use, now for carry read data, the method where you use, now the get. Because you go get data. When you create data, because you put new data into the database, you can say it post data there. And then when you have for updates, the method where correlates to updates is put. And then delete is delete. You understand? So when you look at the response way, Claude GUI, when you see this gets, what you know say they do? That means this operation now for only for read, you not get for able for create data, and for read and normal. Yes, so we don't get we all understand that part today. I'll try as best as I can for drop all the screenshots there. So I'll just send it into Discord. So let's read with different workflows there as a beginner. So the first operation, let's say somebody want to create a new task on my app. What you go do? What the user does? Then they type buy groceries. When are the task code they want for create? Some of you go task go be do you college assignment. All right. Then you tap the button add task. You are add that task in this application. What happens at that point? These are the front end steps. The user they type inside the input box. The user they click the button let's say for add task. The front end they take this text, send it to the back end, and then this is optional, shows a loading, that loading screen where they see, and then successful. All this way they see now, you get in the app on your front end. You see this input button, tap add task, and then once you tap add task, now the front end, they take it to the back end, but then you see it load, and then once it's successful, you see this new task on your screen. Cool? But what happens on the API side? Because you are creating a new task, whose method we go use? We use the post method. Because we create a new task into a database. This URL, for now, you can just ignore them because not so you do the code. AI ain't able to understand that part thing. But this URL is basically like, whose part of this endpoint you're able to use for get this data. But for now, you can just ignore that one day. And then the data where we send, I say, buy groceries or do assignments. And then what happens in we backend? We backend, they receive the request when I for buy groceries. It creates new data our database with the ID and the name by groceries, puts the status, and then the time. You see, all of this data where they put so will be done defined and first up here. You see here, ID, the text, in status, when we create, and when we update her. And then once that is done, it saves it to the database and then sends back the info to the front end. So this small process, this is really what happens in behind the scenes. So let's say, for example, let's find a to-do app. Those are quite simple to find. To-do app online. Or even, by the password login. Okay, so let's use notes. This wouldn't be like a very valid definition, but let's use notes. Say notes now with to-do app. This will not be very accurate, but this would give you like a better understanding. When you type do assignments, and then you tap enter on your keyboard, what happens at this stage is you don't send this data to your database. Say add a new data when a name na do assignments. Add a new data where a name na do assignments. It is not completed yet, and then record when we do it. And then it's saved, we see appear now. And then once you tap this button where they should say complete, not now. Once you say so complete, we're also sending data back, say, all right, this task, we get this ID, it's now completed. Make sense? We understand? All right. So one of the flows that we get for do or use on this application are for create a new task. So when you create this new task, you get this your front end. Let's actually look for a to-do app thing. Simple, free to-do app online. Let me see fine. See? Okay, yes. For example, say let's just so even this flow Nice. Cool. So you see, we front end, 90s. We front end 90s. We get this add task button. So if you want for add task, you click on, you type the task name, which is eat food, and then we know they put no reminders, no nothing. We tap add task. We don't add task, it don't appear now with front end. Now what really happen in the back end, even though it's so fast, is once you tap that add task there, you don't send a post to your database, say add this eat food inside this table, and what's in the data we for put there? The text, when I eat food, whether it is completed or not, the current time we are defined, the current time we are at this task. All of that has been put. It don't save on the database. And then now we front end, it don't send we that task where they display. That is all that happens in the back end. We're not going to understand if we see how the network will go. So let's create another task. Anyone? Go home. Listen, nothing. Am I looking at the right thing? I don't think so. Oh yeah, it is. Because it's fetching the. Yep. So you may not understand this, but then you see this post where we talk about. You send like a post, and the app now from this to-do ist app / today, and you see the API in the middle. We send a post to the database. Also, it go record with data, and this turn red OK mean it is successful. And then we see an ISO. So if we tap completed, it's supposed to send another one. So okay, even this confetti, that way you see so, it's also another call. Get okay, confetti, sick. So looking at your network, you see all the API calls and everything where they happen in the background. But this is just for one. Okay, we don't do marking it as done. When you mark it as done, the front end, what you see, you click a box, the box change to correct, it tells you say completed. But in the back end, it'll go update that data for that task day, change completed to true, and then in the back end, it record and they say this has been completed, save them, and then send you back a response in your front end. We all understand? Delete is basically it go, delete a recording, and then in your front end it shows it has been deleted. So for every application you build, this is everything that always happens. For every application where you get for build, this is all at the core level. This is what you are going to be handling. So with this understanding of your application, when you go to AI now, with this understanding, if something breaks anywhere along the line, you can able to identify them because you know all the post requests that they make. You know all the get requests that they make. You know all the put requests that they make. You know all the delete requests that they make. So if you see, let's say for this application, almost get requests that they make. One. We only they make one get request. And then if in your code now you see say there's a problem for actually see the task that we don't put for do. Okay, let me ask that as a question instead. We don't define our application, What's not the request that we make? When they make one post request, when for we want to create a new task, correct? We they make one put request when we want for update an existing task, correct? When they make one delete request, we want for delete a task. Then they make one get request, we want for see all your tasks there, correct? So let's say your application now, AI build for you, but you know they see you task them. What's the problem there? You able to click, add task, put name, click, but then you know they see them. What's the problem there? Pardon? So you build a platform for yourself, where AI build for you. But you don't tell and now say, now this platform, and they handle one post request, when somebody will add a new task, you dey send a post request. When somebody will update this task, let's say it don't done, or let's say he want change the name, you dey send a put request. You dey send a put request. When somebody don't add the task done, you want to view the task, and you want to view all the tasks then, you dey send a get request. When somebody want to delete the task, you dey send a delete request. Now you build your application, you dey test them, but then you task them not the show. Who side the problem there? Which operation get the problem? Exactly. Because you dey create them, but then the one way responsible for make you see them, now they get request. So you know they see any task, but they say created, but you know they see. So if you want to go change that one now in the code for the AI, what you go tell her? Say the get request part of the code, not the work, fix them. Because you already know inside the problem there. But let's say now, okay, you create the task, you see them, now you want to change the name from FBC to IPAM. You dey tap edit, change IPAM, you click enter, but then you know they see any change. Usai go be the most likely part to the problem they come out. This same application. Now we don't create a task will be named FBC. You want to change that task now from FBC to IPAM. But then you go, you tap edit, delete, erase you be write FBC, you write IPAM now, you tap enter. But when you tap enter, now the task, now FBC still they show. What's the problem go there? Whose method or which request will get the problem? Among post, get, put, and delete. Put? How much people they say put? Don't be shy now. Now you answer. Side don't put your hand up. So if you want to change your mind, you can change your mind. All right. So for this, there would be two likely causes of the problem. Either you post, not a work. Either that change where you change, it really not post them. Or either you post the work, but then the get's not the work. So it's either the post not even send that new data there. It just shows say it's send, but it really not send out. Either that is the problem, or it actually send out, but then you get method still gets problem. So this is how you narrow down problems when it comes to engineering. Any questions? Eh? Cool. So we all be do the second prompt. Eh? Everybody be do the second prompt. Everybody get in flow. Other than get the flow. Like this. Everybody, anybody. This second prompt we'll be doing is say, walk me through the complete data flow for this application. Includes what happens in the front end, blah, blah, blah. You don't get results for that. Okay, so that's $2 for you. Anybody else don't get a response for that? Okay, I know that. Now the voice go loud. You we don't get. So we have two people that we don't get. Is there a third person? Eh? All right. What's your app? Not like the idea of the app we they build. Yeah, not to the way they use. Like, whose app you they build? Like your very first one. You remember this always say, I am building a simple to-do app. What you put there? Are you saying a to-do app you put? Okay. What do you put? To-do. Right. Yes, what do you put? Anybody will put anything other than to-do? Or we all have to-do app where we all build? Market is store app. Waiting at the data flow the way you get. Okay. Because it would be interesting for seeing other data flows and see like from other applications and then with these. Okay. So now that we all understand them, I'm going to create a new chart use the same prompt but different idea. And then we see, and then we dissect and check whether we understand proper one. Should I do that? So somebody give me a simple idea. Blog app, since nobody knows how to talk. So same prompt, I'm building a simple blogging app. We are looking at blogging app, eh? Like social media app, we're able to create posts. What am I social media app? Help me map out the front end, back end, and API that will handle these features. These are the features that we have for handle. Someone posting, someone reading the post, comments, updating post, and deleting post. So they build a simple blog app where the features that will make you a map out for you. Somebody for post, somebody for able for read the post, somebody for comment on the post, somebody for update the post, and able for delete your post. And then once that is complete, we tiff the same prompt back. So it don't map out the front end and the back end for we. Now they tell and say, let's create data flows for these applications. So workshop is kind of complete for today. But we're going to do like, since we get to 4:30 and it's 3:52 now, till 4:15. We're going to go through this and see how much we understand them. So let's complete first. It creates 9 flows for we. So then that is the opportunity for 9 different people for win $1 each. So there are 9 flows between now to 4:15, as much as we're able to do. Other one for volunteer or one person can win all the $9 depending on how much seriousness he gets. So if you're interested, you can ace your hand up and then you come to the front and then you explain this one flow, waiting to happen end to end. Yes, sir, the floor is yours. Thank you. Yes, sir. This entire one.
Then you send them back to the front end for which you want to hold. And that is last part.
All right. So make we vote. How much of we think he correct? How much of we think he correct? It's right, but correct? Let me ask. Can I ask if it's right? Now, I think that's like a really good attempt for explain how you understand them, and that's what you would look for. So yes, you would win the $1 for that. But for a more accurate explanation, is that when you come, no, the alarm, yeah. Thank you. So what happens is when you come on the application, what did happen first at the front end and they soon? That page they load. You know, whenever you go on Facebook, there must be a post. Whether you business or not your business, or you must see post. Because what did happen at that point is your front end automatically they make an API call for get all you post there. You understand? Now they happen so now. Get API post all you post there with it. Or we associated or we connected to you, the platform, they make an API call for go get all. So that is why whenever you go on Facebook, there's a post. Whenever you go on Instagram, post it. Then they happen like front end. But really what happens in the background is it goes into a database, look for all blog posts, gets the post, the title of the post, who that post them, the date with them post, and then preview of that post day. And then it sends all this list back to we front end. We front end now receive them, display and to we. So from this flow, what type of method will they use? The flow is you come, you click on the platform, the front end load all the posts that we get. What's happening at the background is it goes into your database, gets all posts and display. So of them method that we mentioned, post method, puts method, gets method, and delete method. Which one we use in this stage? Gets, thank you. Why?
For example, we type like for the specific things that we want. For me, for generation, like what's in the app, what's your sense for the backend, for you have to add else. So we can all get that.
Exactly. So because the post them already exist, now the database, other people they don't put on there, and you just want for read and see, that is why we are using a get method. Cool? So we don't have for try for the second one. If the same post you want for try, you can carry it back. We don't have for try for explain the second one. Anybody? Anybody want for challenge this man? If you challenge her and you win, you they get $2 instead. This man don't care already. Yes, sir. Flow number 2. User clicks on a post. What happens?
So, when the user click on the read more on the post, now on the front end, you get the user clicks, page changes to show that specific post, makes an API call to get the full post. So now from the back end here, we get looks for posts with ID 123 database, get the full post content, also date, also get all comments from this post, send everything to the front end. So now until where we don't get from this back end, now the API to process everything. We don't process everything from this back end. Now they send at this front end, now in the display, maybe say we get all this winning at this front end.
All right, nice one. So that's a really good try. What I notice is from the two people there, they actually understand them. It's just the explaining. And so that's $2 for you as well. So what did happen? When somebody click on a post, I'll skip the front end. We all know when you click on a post, you see the post. But what really happen is, we make an API call into this post table where we get, and then we look for a particular post. So you know when it starts where we say create a post, or that other app we build when we create a task, with task they get an ID. Not so they put the ID, but inside the database they get an ID. So every post you make also gets an ID. Every Instagram poster you see in the database, it gets an ID. Any Twitter poster you see in the database, it gets an ID. So we send a waiting request. Which method? We send like a get request to this post, and we look for this particular one with this ID. And then in the database, now in the backend, they're going to look for this post with this ID, get the full content, get also the comments them, everything we need, and then we send them to we front end, and then we see them. So this is like the simple operations so they happen every time you click on your phone, every time you send a text message, and this they happen. Whenever you click, that number we save as my love. Whenever you click WhatsApp, just they go look for that person in ID. They don't know about how you save them. Look for that person in the ID. Look for on our messages. Display on our messages. Whenever you type a message and then you tap send, it just send a post request. Record that one day in the database. Although they use end-to-end encryption now, so they don't get to see it. Record that wherever they record them. You see them, that person they see them. So everything you do, now this code, you are either creating data, reading data, updating data, or deleting data. Every application you get for being at the wall, at the core, this is the system design. This is how you think about software. Every software you develop, all you have to think about is how the front end they relate to the back end, what's the flow from the front end to the back end, what's the different operations there. So even we already participate for vibe shifts. Okay, if you know this, do you think participating in vibe shifts will be easier? You think if you know this for participate for the hackathon, it will be easier? If you be able to break down your barriers, the easier. Able to identify errors, the easier. Well, now you have it now, so good luck in the next vibe shift. So number 3, anybody? Preferably a woman. And on our 5 there. So if I go keep meeting, then I send one. Okay, so if woman come and explain her, understandably, I won't say accurately, but you explain them in such a way other people they understand whether it's correct or wrong. You get $20 a day. A joko. You get 5. That's for each of the women that within at the building. Not to say you need for Sheban to the $1 just represents each woman. Not you, girl. Not you. Anybody? Any woman? If woman want to do another workshop, the end. Bing. No, not you, little girl. Yeah, kind of future. When I'm done in me now, me don't call you now. Now future not call now, in future, can they? Yes, ma'am. You don't need to be correct. Just make people understand no more. Explain how you understand her. Or this art. Okay, because they can say what a man can do. You granted they don't did fight for that equal rights and justice. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. What is that? We create API.
or the title by new bylaw post. The title may be seen a new bylaw post. The content is this is my bylaw post content. So the backend have a type of settings here. When we dey click the user, we dey login. When we say we dey give get them permission. Save the title content from the request. When we say we dey save the title, we don't do anything. We just forget request from them because we don't first give them permission. So save the new post in the database.
Assign the current user as the author of the post sent back success message. Noise.
Assign the current user as the author. Send back accident. Send back success message with new post. So this is type of service. When we don't send you permission and they don't give you the request, when they don't post them for you, they therefore assign me if they therefore pick me or not. The permission depends on you. And they send back message to you. Maybe say they tell you, okay, maybe they don't confirm you or they don't confirm you. In at least the backend is guy will tell you about. So the frontend gets called. Show post, create successful message. The frontend now they tell me for save. When they don't respond me, either they tell me for they don't pick me or they don't pick me.
Okay. That's it.
We product users to view their new bylaw post. The new post now appear on the home page. So now when I don't give a response, they get for appear on the page. Either if in a phone they use computer, laptop, they appear and say, okay, they don't accept you or they don't accept you it. So that page they describe for inform you say that you don't get any permission, they don't accept you or not. So now that in the backend is there for export.
Thank you very much, Ma. So, we next process on this stage is where you actually want to post something. Create a new post. If you want to create a new post, and what did happen at that stage? I'll skip the front end because the front end and the form they just put what you want for post. What happens now is you make an API call. Which method will they use? We make an API call with the post method. Why? Because we want to add data into this post table where we get. And the data where we want to add, the title of we blog, and the content where we blog, now we want to add. What happens in the back end? Because you want to create a post now, the back end, they check if you logged in. That under this permission they come from. How many times have you tried for post on Twitter, but if you don't log in, they allow you? Because for this app, you are limited for being logged in first before you get permission for post. So in the back end, it check first, this user logged in or not. And honestly, this line, depending on the simplicity of your blog app, is not needed. If you know your blog app, you don't need anybody for login for post, fine. But it's just best practice no more. So check if the user logged in, and then take the title and the content, the one that we put from the front end, save them inside the database. Inside this table at the database, when I post, save them there. And then, because you logged in, they're able to get your name, the name we use for create your account. So you automatically, also inside the database, it assign you as the author. Say this person now creates this post. And then just send a success message to you for sure, say you post don't really made. And then the next step, After that, it's also for send a get request for that particular post day, and then you see them. We all understand? Everybody? All right, Chuck, I have a question. Let's say in this blogging app, you post them, where you self-post, not a grid show. What's going to be the likely problem for that? You go say the server, why? Okay, so which of you, or which of the method them most likely go down break? Let's say you don't create a post them before, you don't create post them before, you be they see you post them, now you know they see any post. Among the post, puts, delete, and get method, which one will most likely don't get the problem? Get? Why get? Okay, let's try. The post method. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is similar to the one I asked. It's a matter of either one or both of them two methods, either the get or the post method. But we know say no to the post method because we'll be they see them before. Then all of a sudden we know they see them again. So you're actually correct. It's the get method. Why? Because get method now responsible for you, responsible for going to the database and get then data than this, so you go able to see. So if you get a blogging app where you don't post, you post the be the show, the left for show, or you get any app where the data where you get at the app be the show, done the left for show, it's most likely that you post method, sorry, you get method, now in the problem, now in the field. So for prompt AI now, since all of the code in our AI get for the do and for we, heavily, all 100%. When AI refuse, let's say you don't connect to a database now, AI, you try for create a data, try for create data for putting on the database, in order work, which method wrong at that point today? You want to try for create a new post in your database, in order work. But other posts they be the work. Which one get problem? All right. No, not get. Post. Because now you want to create new data, but you're not able for creator at the post method. You be done create them before, you be the see them before, now you know the see again. Which one? Get. You be don't do them before, you be the see them, now you know the see again. So you be the get them before, now you're not able to get them again. So let's say you name na be Sulaiman Bari, but now you name na Sulaiman Jalo. You come, you on your platform, you tap edit, you change them. Say I'm no longer called Sulaiman Bari, I'm called Sulaiman Jalo. You press enter. But then as Sulaiman Bari is still the show. What's going to be the most likely problem at that point? Post and get. Okay. Put and get. Okay. Put and get. Because it's either a really not update time or it don't update time but not fetch the accurate information. Yes, so that is it for today's workshop. This is systems thinking part 1. We'll be doing systems thinking part 2 next week. But this is part 1, and if you not take anything away from this class, just know that this is how any application we open, no matter how sophisticated they look, no matter how fluffy or how fancy the design look like, at the core of it all, you are either creating data, reading data, updating, or delete. At the core, this is it. There's a backend for it. There's a front end. There are API calls that are being made. And in those API calls, you are either creating, reading, updating, or deleting, no matter what the application is. So when you want to build your application, these are the things you have to consider. Say in this my application, What would I be creating? This is a health application. We'll be creating health records. We'll be creating doctor records. We'll be creating patient records. What would I be reading? We'll be reading patient records from the database. We'll be reading health records from the database. We'll be reading doctor's record from the database. We'll be reading medical history from the database. What would I be updating? You were able to update this, and that. When somebody click add records, what happens? When somebody click delete records, what happens? So at the core, this is how you think about your product. And if you have all of this figured out, you really don't understand how data they flow in your application. Once you go to AI, once you start running into those errors, it is smooth sailing from there. So thank you very much for coming. This workshop would be recorded, and the recording will be posted online. Thank you very much. See you next time.